Okay, hello and welcome to all those online that have joined us today for this open event for the Nanotechnology um, for Healthcare and Medicine MSc at Oxford University. Thank you for joining us. I think some of you may have been on our previous open day event, and some of you may be new. So what we'll do today is give a bit of a refresh about the content of the course and the way it hangs together, but also add some new information about the interview process and application to the course. So it will cover just about everything you need to know about the course and also how to apply for the course and your experience if you are selected for interview, your experience of the interview. Okay, so as I say, welcome. This session will last about an hour, and it will give all the details you need. There will be an opportunity for you guys online to ask some questions at the end. So please make use of that. I should say this event is being recorded, and so it will be available again if you would like to review it, which may be of use to you. Okay, so what we'll cover today is we'll give our introductions, obviously, and then we'll recap about the course. We'll work through the modules, so the content of the different modules and how they're comprised and delivered. And then we'll talk about the process of applying to Oxford University, and with some specific detail also around the interview process. And then there'll be the Q&A opportunity at the end. Okay, so in terms of introductions, I'm Bob Carlisle. I'm the course director of the MSc in Nanotechnology for Medicine and Healthcare. I've been working in this area for about 25 years. I have quite a lot of publications, and I lead Module 6, which is the clinical and commercial translation of nanomedicine. And I'm quite well placed to do that because in our labs, what we strive to do is take technologies from concept all the way through to clinical and commercial translation. And then over to you, Christian.
Hello, I'm Christiane Norberg. I'm the Deputy Course Director of the MSc in Nanotechnology and the Course Director of the PG Cert in Nanotechnology. And we'll tell you about the difference of the two courses in just a minute. My background is in material science and nanoscience, and I'm leading modules 1 to 5. And again, we'll give you more details about the modules in just a minute. So that's me.
Okay, and we're also very privileged today to have one of our current students here. And I think that's really useful to have a student on-course student here to give their perspective. So Kai, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name's Kai. I'm from San Francisco. I'm currently in the program. I have an economics and pre-med background from UC Santa Cruz, and I am working on a thesis involving cavitation and tumor stuff under Bob and another postdoc.
Okay, thank you, Kai. So Kai's a nice example in that he's an international student, and we have a lot of international students. He's also got this kind of combination of commercial as well as the biological experience and interest. And he's doing great things in his dissertation project here in my labs. Okay, so we'll recap with the program overview for just as a refresher to those who did attend the last session and new information to those who didn't. What we have is a PG Cert in nanotechnology. So I'll hand over to you here, Christian. You talk us through that.
This is one of the courses we run, the PG Cert in Nanotechnology. It runs over 10 months, so almost an entire academic year. It happens online, part-time, and it's really a course for those looking to gain a solid foundation in nanotechnology whilst working full-time in their current jobs. So the course is online, and we have just one residential weekend at the end of the course, usually at the beginning of July.
Okay, so the PG Cert has been running for many years now, very successfully. And actually, we thought what would be a great idea would be to develop it. And so about 10 years ago, what we did was develop that course into an MSc. So the MSc takes in that PG Cert content, but then adds some extra content to create the MSc. So you can take the PG Cert as a PG Cert student, and that may be all you require. Or you can think, actually, what I'd like is the full MSc, and that involves a few extra things. So it's studied over 2 to 4 years, and it's designed to enhance the ability of those nanotechnology researchers to take their technologies and take them all the way from concepts to clinical use and to commercialization. So it takes those 3 PG Cert modules and it adds 3 modules delivered face-to-face in Oxford. And then it also adds a research dissertation. So the strength here is that we have these very complementary but different modes of delivery. You get your online content, you get your face-to-face content. This gives us flexibility, and it allows our students to study while working if they are in that position where they need to work to support their studies, and they're in a good job, but they want to learn more and they want to advance their careers, do some professional development, can do our course whilst continuing to work because it provides that flexibility. Okay, so just to go through what you will learn, if we take PG Cert to start with, we have those 3 online modules. They cover the wider context of nanotechnology, the fundamental science of nanotechnology, so that's the fundamental science at the nanoscale, the maths and physics, and then they have the fundamental characterization of nanotechnology. So that's about how we characterize at the nanoscale, the type of techniques and technologies that we use to do that. And then we have the 3 MSc modules, which is the Introduction to Bio-Nanotechnology, the Nanomedicine Science and Applications. So that's how we use that bio-nanotechnology to make a difference to patients' lives. And then clinical translation and commercialization. So that's how we ensure that this fantastic science and these fantastic ideas and technologies that we develop can actually make a difference to the world, to ensure that we can actually go through the process of translation in the most efficient and effective way to ensure that we achieve commercialization and clinical translation. So the MSc involves all of those 6 modules, the first 3 online, the second 3 face-to-face, and then the dissertation. So this is a research project, and it may be paper-based, so literature study. It may be wet lab-based, so in the labs. It may be based in Oxford. It may be based in the facilities in which our students are working. So it may be within their own company's labs, for example, or it may be within their own institution's labs. So again, there's lots of flexibility there. The important aspects are that it's a novel piece of research, that it will help move the field of nano forward. And typically, what we do, and I say typically because there's a lot of flexibility, is that in preparation for the second year of students' time, we start to discuss what their dissertation project will be. We develop that project over the next few months, and then we ensure they have all the training and the safety and all the methods and materials they need. And then normally during the long summer of their second year is when they would get down to the real nitty-gritty of the study. So they would spend 3 to 4 months in a lab somewhere. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in just how that dissertation project is organized and delivered. So those are the components of the PG Cert and the MSc and how they all fit together. In terms of the timeline you might follow as a student, in October to December, you would complete the wider context nanotechnology module on the PG Cert. And then January to March, so the second term of your first year, you would complete the fundamental science of nanotechnology. And then from April to July, the third of those PG Cert modules would be complete the fundamental characterization of nanotechnology. And as Christian mentioned, the conclusion of this third module actually finishes with some time in Oxford and experiencing some of the characterization technology that you'll have been discussing the theory of in your online sessions. In the second year, you would do your three face-to-face modules in Oxford, first in October, the second in March, and the third in July. And during this time, you'll be developing and working on your dissertation, which you would then hand in the summer of your second, or the end of the summer of your second year. As I mentioned, there's lots of flexibility, and depending on your work commitments or your life commitments, there is some flexibility to alter the order or the duration over which you complete these modules. Now, you may be thinking, that's all quite a lot to take on, and maybe I need a flavor of how these courses are run and their content is delivered, and the level and interest I have in the content. So we also have this facility to actually attend the modules as a standalone student. This means you come in and you attend that one module, get a flavor for the course, and that allows you to decide whether the PG Cert might be more appropriate for you, or the MSc might be appropriate for you, or maybe you just want to take one or two more of the modules as standalone students. So that's a nice option if you feel maybe a little less sure about the course. What I would say is that the vast majority of students who do come as standalone students do then go on to further study on the course because they enjoy their time so much. Okay. Now, in terms of actually what you need to commit to the course, what you'll have gauged, I hope, from what I've been talking about in terms of the content and structure, is that there is quite a large commitment required. So you need to obviously successfully complete those 3 or 6 taught modules, depending on whether you're a PG Cert or an MSc student. And in modules 1 to 3, you'd be expected to study for between 15 and 20 hours a week. Now, if you are very experienced in the field, that the time you need might be closer to 15 weeks, 15 hours rather than 20. If you're newer to the field, then you might need 20, 25 hours. So depending on your experience, you might need to adjust your expectations of exactly how long you need to commit. And then you also need to commit to a 1-hour online tutorial each week. And that's a great opportunity to come together with your cohort and discuss the topics of the week. So it's really essential for kind of cohort building and interacting with a cohort, as well as keeping up with the content and making sure you understand everything, that you can attend those online tutorials. Now, those, in terms of assessment, what comes out of those 20 hours of self-study and your online tutorials is a range of types of assessment: essays, reports, problem sheets, scientific posters, presentations. So what we try and do is produce a more rounded student who can do a lot of things very well, rather than just write lots of essays. So what we try and do is give you different forms of assignment and assessment. But what it all comes down to is that there is it's still quite a hefty commitment in terms of the time you will need to commit. And you'll need to think about how you manage that time, especially if you are already working as well as attending a course. And the final commitment, of course, is the dissertation, and this is up to 15,000 words of original research. So again, that is a hefty commitment. You really need to be able to manage your workload, manage your other commitments, and find a decent amount of time to do this properly. Kai, I don't know if you have some thoughts about whether what we have here is a reasonable reflection of the time required and how you've managed to manage your time on the course.
Yeah, absolutely. I was working a full-time job for the first three modules, and I think generally that's a pretty good bet on what your average week is going to look like study wise. I asked around the cohort before this meeting just to get a sense from everyone. And generally, for the second module, people were spending around 20 to 25 hours. There is someone who came from a nanotechnology background, and he said he was around 15 hours. Um, the first module, I think it was generally around 10 to 15 hours per week for most people. And then it also just depends on what you're good at. Like I tend to be a better test taker than a project person, so I spent a little bit more time with the projects than other people did. But yeah, I think that's a very safe assessment.
Okay, good. And perhaps some kind of your thoughts on your dissertation and the commitment required there, and how's that going and things like that, maybe.
Yeah, I think that also varies. I quit my job and moved out here to do my dissertation because one of the skill sets I wanted to gain from this program was a better wet lab or more wet lab experience. And I felt like that would best be done at Oxford. So I'm out here full time, and now I'm in the lab pretty much as a full time researcher, I would say, for the dissertation. But then there's also people who are doing lit reviews like over the course of a year. So it's like 3 months, but spread over the course of a year. Um, so yeah, I think my dissertation in total is going to be like a 4 month project. And then I don't realistically know exactly what the write up is going to look like because I haven't quite gotten there yet. Um, but I think I've given myself like 4 or 5 months to do the write up.
Very good. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Kai. Okay. Now Oxford is a unique place, and people who haven't visited here or studied here might not understand some of its ways, and that can be quite intimidating. It can be very exciting, but it can be quite intimidating. So just to clarify some of the things, and give you some information around the unique Oxford experience. Um, Firstly, to clarify, on the MSc, you will be a matriculated postgraduate degree student. So you will become a member of one of the university's famous colleges. So the colleges are an just an incredible place to meet other people who are doing interesting things to discuss with them. Um, they may also be a place where you can find some accommodation in certain circumstances. Um, and really, they're an opportunity. They can be a kind of home from home for you, somewhere to meet and discuss, to make friends and network with people from outside your own sphere of influence, and just a really great place with some great facilities. But it is kind of a unique setup. So it's just worth kind of clarifying for you the role of the colleges. And Kai, I'm not sure which college are you at?
I'm at Kellogg.
Kellogg. Okay. Have you managed to spend much time there, or have you been too busy?
I live there now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm living there for like the 6 months that I'm here. So
Okay. And
yeah,
how are you finding that experience?
it's great. I mean, I didn't interact with the colleges a whole ton while I was online.
Mhm.
Um, I think I met with my advisor like once, maybe. Um, but yeah, since coming here, it's been great. Formals, like all that stuff, it's all done through your individual colleges. And I've made some good friends through there. So yeah,
Great.
definitely something that's good to interact with.
Okay. Thanks, Kai. Okay. And just a bit of information on some of the organizations that the course is associated with. So the course is actually run as a kind of combined course out of um, the Department of Continuing Education and Engineering Science. Now, um, the overall responsibility and running of the course is through continuing education. Um, but as course director or a member of the engineering science faculty. That is the link into engineering there. Now, I'm also a member of the Institute of Biomedical Engineering here in Oxford. Which again is this, it's quite complicated, but it's a sub compartment of the engineering sciences department. But what that means is that we have access to a huge number of fantastic facilities that can be used in the development and testing of nanotechnologies for use in medicine and healthcare. So that gives us kind of really good access to equipment, to facilities, to people, to supervisors. We're really ideally placed. We also have association with Overbrook Science Park, which again gives some access to equipment and people, which is always great. And the course has great links into other departments from across what we call the MPLS, so the Mathematical, Physical, and Life Sciences division, as well as medical sciences. So we have lecturers come in and lecture on the MSc course who are distributed across lots of different departments: chemistry, biochemistry, physics, as well as some clinicians who are actively involved in both developing technologies and using those technologies and testing those technologies in patients and clinical trials. So we have a huge range of lecturers from a huge range of different departments. And again, that testifies to the fantastic interdisciplinarity of the course and, of course, of the field of nanotechnology. It pulls expertise in from all kinds of areas, and it's really great that I think the course reflects that. The way we deliver the course helps emphasize that and it gives our students exposure to all those different fields. Okay, so if you managed to join the previous open session, you may have had all that information already. We're just going to drill down into a bit of detail about application to try and make that clear for you. So obviously the course is quite intellectually rigorous. It requires people who are good at studying and have shown a strong academic background. So we require a first class or strong upper second class undergraduate degree. And the subject is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, as I described. So anything with a science or engineering discipline or a medical degree. So we often have doctors who come on the course because obviously they are interested in how they can use new technology to improve the treatment of their patients. So those are typically the spheres that we have students from. It's really important that our students, regardless of which particular discipline they come from, that they have a good aptitude for maths and physics, and that relates particularly to Module 2 of the MSc and Module 2 of the PG Cert. That's the one that deals with the fundamentals of nano at the of science at the nanoscale. So that's very important. We need evidence of a demonstrated interest in nanotechnology. So what is it about the field that makes you excited? Why do you care? What technologies you're interested in? What applications are you interested in? We need obviously an evidence that you can motivate yourself sufficiently and that you have the ability to complete the course. And we do require proficiency in English at the university's higher level. And obviously that's because the course is delivered in English. So if you're going to get the most out of it and understand both the oral and written content, then you're going to need a good standard of English. In terms of completing your application, what we're looking for is a statement of purpose. If you're applying for the MSc, some kind of research proposal. Now, this isn't the finished article, and it's not committing you to doing this particular project exactly as written in a year or 2 years' time. It's really to get an idea about how you think and the kind of science you're interested in. So it's really just to get an idea of where you are now, and that gives us a picture really of how suitable you are for the course and also helps us start to think about what your eventual research proposal might look like. So don't worry if you can't think of anything really certain and really concrete in terms of going forward. Really, we just want to know about a field you're interested in and how you might investigate that field. And then we need 3 referees. Ideally, these would be academic. I think we can accept one professional recommendation, but ideally they would be academic. And we need the official transcripts, which obviously can take some time for you to track down. So that's why it's good to be prepared and get on getting those transcripts together as soon as possible. And there's a link here for more advice if you need it. So in terms of the statement of purpose, it's 500 words. Explain your motivations for studying this course. Why this course? Not just I quite like Oxford and I want to come here. So why this course and why Oxford? Give the details of the areas you're interested in, and then some evidence of how that your interests align with your experience, your academic, your research, practical experience. In terms of the research proposal, as I described, it's an outline that just shows us you can think about science in a sensible, well-designed, feasible way. And it just gives us an idea of how you think and how you put things together. 500 words. And we use this combined with the statement of purpose to assess how suitable you are for the course. So keep everything organized and clear. Okay, now if you are successful in your application and invited to interview, it might be worth you just having some information on that interview process, we thought. So this is just to break that down. It's not a scary process. There's nothing to be worried about. We're really just seeing how well aligned you are in terms of your experience and your interests with the course and how good a student you'll be on the course. So it typically takes 25 to 30 minutes. It's online. It's myself and Christian. And we cover questions that include your understanding nano and how it is applied in healthcare, what kind of experiences you've had, and your motivation, and what you will do with the learning that you take from the course, how you will use it in your career development. And then we'll talk about how well you understand how the course content fits together and the structure of the course, and just to make sure that you know what you're signing up for. And obviously, after this talk today, I would hope that it's quite clear how the modules fit together and how they are delivered. So we would expect you to ace that question. And then obviously some consideration of your ability to commit the time required. So how are you going to arrange your work and personal life around these large time commitments? And then we'll have a little discussion about funding and how you might fund your time on the course. And then for MSc students, we'll go through and just talk in some detail about the dissertation proposal you might have submitted, and just get a feel for your thinking and understanding around the field that you've focused on for your proposal. Now, students as I explained, students on the MSc course will belong to both the Department of Continuing Education and college. So you have the option to express a preference, and Kellogg, Reuben, St. Catherine's, Wycliffe are colleges that typically take our students. They're not the only ones, but you have a good chance of getting a college if you tick the box for these. Okay, so I think I've probably talked through everything that we wanted to make sure you had a good understanding of. I will now stop sharing and open up the Q&A session. so that if there are questions that you have that we can help answer, we will do that. Okay, so feel free to type your questions. And we have people monitoring those questions, and I have it on the screen here. And they might be questions for myself, there might be questions for Kai, there might be questions for Christian. Do we get 100% scholarship? So the scholarship situation in Oxford is that there are scholarships available, but there are a huge number of people applying for those scholarships. So they are extremely competitive. And to get a chance of getting a full scholarship, you have to be really at the very top of your cohorts in all of your courses from outstanding universities. So they're very competitive. There is no harm in applying, but it is dangerous to presume that you will be successful. You really need to think about getting a scholarship as a kind of outside chance and plan around alternative funding routes. So think about other ways you might fund your time. So there may be a national scholarship program in your home country that you can apply for. There may be support from your employer that you can apply for continuing professional development. Many of our students come with support from their employers. So think about other ways you might support yourself, because the scholarships are very competitive. We can help you. We can provide links to the different scholarships. Some of them you are automatically put forward for with your application. Some of them require an extra application. So we can provide you with links that will help you sift through and look for any scholarships you think might be appropriate to yourself, and then we can help you with the application process. But they are not something that you would typically rely on, because the competition for them is so tough. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Regarding the modules to be taken, do you recommend a strict order of the modules? Or would you say, okay. So I would recommend strict order. That's what I'd recommend. Because the information flows quite sensibly in terms of giving you the wider context, so you understand where this whole field fits into society as a whole. And then it gives you the fundamental science, and it's much easier to understand how we apply the science if you understand the fundamentals. Okay, so it is designed to build knowledge in a sensible way, so that obviously the last part of the process, where we talk about, okay, we've understood the fundamental science, we've understood how it might be applied, now let's understand how we translate it commercially and clinically. So the whole thing builds. So that's what I would recommend. As I mentioned, the course is designed to be flexible, because we understand that our students often have professional commitments, personal commitments that they have to organize their study around. So if there are issues with taking a particular module in a particular year, then it can be delayed and you can do it the next year. And that's why the course says you can take 2 to 4 years, because if it proves difficult to study a particular module in a particular period of time, then you can delay and take it the next time it's available. We would advise you to try and take it in sequence as smoothly as possible, but we understand that's not always possible. Okay, I hope that clarifies. Okay, thank you for the information. So this is from Petra. Are there any computational modules, or is there an opportunity to make thesis including some computational elements? Yeah, so we recognize obviously that machine learning and AI are a huge part, or an increasingly huge part of this field and every other field. So we are trying to incorporate and modify content to include those elements. And indeed, several of our dissertation projects currently going through the works are based on computational projects. So it is something that we are engaging with more often and are having to, because that's the way the field is going. Okay, can someone with a BSc in medical imaging apply for this program? Again, we would probably need more details, exactly what kind of modules and content you've covered in your course. I would think with medical imaging, there is some physics and maths. And we just need to make sure that the level of physics and maths covered in your course or in your previous experience would provide you with enough understanding and experience to tackle the maths and physics that is part of module 2 of the course. So I would predict that you would probably okay, but we would obviously need to have some understanding of exactly which modules you took as part of your medical imaging. Okay, developing biosensors in communication with wearable device. Is this the scope? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's why we use the word healthcare and medicine. So we like to cover all the applications of nano, and biosensors is absolutely within that. We have some great content on sensing on the course and biosensors, and we have good connections into research groups in the Institute of Biomedical Engineering here doing work on wearable devices. So that absolutely fits within the content and the drive of the course. Okay, if I don't select certain colleges right now, will that affect my application in any way? And conversely, would selecting them at this stage provide any advantage? I think it would help in just helping clarify things. It takes a bit of a question mark out of the whole process. As I say, we have some colleges that are particularly associated with the course, and so they understand that our students, like Kai, for example, shining examples showing Kellogg that our students are good students, and they'd be happy to accept them. So it might just take a little bit of a question mark out of the whole process and make things a bit smoother. Could you please confirm that the course fees for home and overseas students are the same for MSc? The website currently states that they are the same, respectively. No, well, I might need some help with that from the admin team, but I think they are the course for the fees for overseas students are higher. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Hi, yeah, that is correct. Oh, sorry, not. Let me just double check.
They're normally the same for
Yeah, so I would expect that they are that the fees are higher for overseas students. Now that might not be the case for the PG cert, perhaps because that's online. I don't know. But we can respond to you directly, Julian, with details on course fees. Okay, do we learn about so this one's from Rowan. Do we learn about nanofibrous scaffold fabrication techniques? Yes, so scaffold formation touches or is a part of a very important field of nano, which is kind of biomaterials, scaffolds for tissue engineering. And so we have some fantastic content from people, from experts in the field of tissue engineering, and the use of scaffolds is covered in those lectures. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Good. Oh, if we don't have a background in data, we don't have a background in data engineering, and I want to pursue an MSc program, I will be accepted. If you don't have a background in data engineering, if you're thinking of things like bioinformatics, that's fine. There's a huge number of projects and a huge number of fields you can pursue, and you will learn how to process your data and present your data as part of your projects. Your project doesn't necessarily need to be data engineering for you to be on the course. Oh, I mean, I have a background. Okay, in data engineering. Okay. Yeah. Again, it depends on the strength and experience of your previous maths and physics education. So we would have to see your application to understand what level of maths and physics you have, your level of understanding, your grades, what kind of courses you've taken. Okay. Well, I'm glad we seem to have cleared everybody's questions up. That's good. And obviously, the admin one of the things that makes this course so good is the quality of the admin team. How can I increase my chances of obtaining a scholarship through the course? I think applying early gives us the most chance to look at your application, your background, and try and align it with any of the scholarships that might be available. Um, that is really the only thing we can do, be as prepared as possible, and then cross our fingers and hope. So yes, giving us lots of time to try and help you obtain those scholarships from within Oxford. In terms of what you can do for scholarships from your home country, for example, then it's just about research, which as a scientist, I would hope you'd be quite good at. It's researching the scholarships that are available, researching their requirements, and if you need letters of support, then we can help write those for you. So yes, it's about preparation and research, really. Okay, so as I was saying, we have a fantastic admin team, which means that if you have any further questions, then please contact them. They will be really pleased and really efficient in responding to your questions. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And we hope to see some of your applications come through the system. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.